Coming up on Jerusalem Dateline, tensions rising as Israel mobilizes for a ground invasion of the Gaza Strip. And details emerge from the paramedics who rushed into the kibbutzes on October 7th. And the extraordinary story of a fallen IDF hero saving lives as his last act. Plus, reaching out to displaced families in need of hope and necessities. All this and more on this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. Crush and conquer. That's the stated goal for a ground invasion of the Gaza Strip. And one Israeli minister says the IDF has the green light. The timing now is reportedly up to the military. On Thursday, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited Israeli troops on the Golan Heights.
I'm here with Golani's fighters. They come from all parts of the country. They fought like lions. They will fight like lions. We're going to win with all our might. The entire nation of Israel stands behind you, and we will give the hard blow to our enemies so that we achieve victory for victory. Ready?
In the south, the IDF says it's completing its checklist by approving operational plans and deploying forces. Israel's defense minister addressed troops on the border.
Get organized. Be ready. The order will come. Thank you so much, guys. We trust you. Good luck, and we'll meet again. Whoever sees Gaza from afar now will see it from the inside. I promise you, that's a promise.
We have a very, very clear goal. We are going to go in Gaza, and we are going to completely destroy Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and every infrastructure of terror in the Gaza Strip.
While there's been talk about the ground campaign being delayed, Reserve Brigadier General Amir Avivi tells CBN News it's right on schedule.
There is no delay, there is preparations. We have a schedule. We're preparing the troops. You have to remember that we have mobilized hundreds of thousands of reservists. We want to train them, equip them. They have to learn their missions. Once we feel it will be the right moment, we'll go in. Anybody who is thinking about maybe we're not going in, maybe we're not going to operate, is not understanding what's going on. The ground operation is imminent.
Middle East expert Avi Melamed says Hamas is part of Iran's master plan to destroy the Jewish state.
The Iranian regime has been also advancing its master plan to eliminate the state of Israel through the use of conventional weapons. And the Iranian regime, to that end, has created what we call the Ring of Fire, meaning creating armies of terror around Israel's neck in Lebanon, in the shape of the Hezbollah, in Syria, in the shape of Iraqi, Afghan, and Pakistani Shiite militias. And the last component of that ring is Hamas and Islamic Jihad in Gaza Strip.
Up north, as Israel and Hezbollah continue to fire at one another, the question remains if and when Hezbollah will join the war. Thousands of residents from the city of Kiryat Shimona near the northern border are being evacuated, making nearly 300,000 Israelis evacuated from both north and south. Meanwhile, other regional hotspots are emerging. A U.S. warship in the Red Sea intercepted missiles meant for Israel, fired by Iranian-backed Houthis. 3 U.S. military bases in Syria are also reportedly under attack. These events signal the possibility of a wider Middle East conflict that would fit the idea of the Iranian regime creating a regional ring of fire.
I said from the beginning, this is a mega event. This is a seismic event. This is an event that has a huge ramifications. And in many perspectives, it sends aftershock waves in the context of Israeli society and politics, Palestinian society and politics, the trajectory of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It sends massive aftershock waves to the region, to the Middle East. It sends shockwaves to the international community and finally also to American juries.
Despite the danger, General Avivi says all eyes are on the God of Israel.
It's amazing to see how united people are, how the spirit is strong, how the connection to God is strong. Now everybody is praying. You know, in war you don't have a taste. Everybody speaks with God and seeks guidance and protection.
I spoke with CBN Middle East analyst John Wagi about Israel's next steps and the ongoing threat from Iran. Take a look. John, when October 7th happened, you happened to be out of the country. Tell us your perception as you were coming back to Israel.
Yeah, Chris, as you know, I was away on a long weekend, and then I found I couldn't get back in the country. It took me 4 extra days just to get into Israel because all the carriers stopped flying there. And so I'd read headlines that Jerusalem's a ghost town, that sort of thing. I didn't find that necessarily the case, but I really was stunned at how quiet the streets were, how the parking lots were empty, how there was no buzz of activity. And in past times, and you and I have been through a bunch of them, from the Intifada to the Hezbollah war in 2006, you know, we had trauma on the streets as suicide bombers were blowing things up 17 years ago. But now it's more of a, this was a collective hit to the solar plexus of the entire nation. And people were numb from the idea that Hamas would take out the kind of evil practices that they did. And so it's getting back now after another couple weeks. We're seeing the country start to return at the same time mobilizing for war. So it's really a different time, a mega event, as the general said in the story.
As he said that in the story, Avi Melamed, how would you define it? How would you perceive this? How big of a change is it, paradigm change here in the Middle East?
I think really it has the potential to realign, to redraw maps. We don't know what's going to go down in terms of the artillery and the shooting and the fighting and the rockets coming in. We don't know to what extent that's going to be, but this is big. And I sense, I don't know if you do, Chris, but I sense that Israel as a nation is saying we are not going to put up with what we put up with for the past 17 years with Hamas, pushing 20 years with Hezbollah. Something's got to give. 43 years with dealing with the mullahs in Iran. Something is going to change, and something's going to change in a major way. We just don't know how it's all going to shake out.
You mentioned the mullahs in Iran. The focus right now happens to be on the possible ground invasion into Gaza, but the bigger picture includes the number one enemy for Israel, Iran. Talk about that.
Yeah, it's you know, I think we all have a sense that Iran could get involved almost immediately here. We are already seeing the skirmishes on the border with Hezbollah, and they're willing to use their proxy to whatever extent they need to. I don't see it pulling back, and we have that as an example. The town of Kiryat Shimona being evacuated now, and other cities may in the north as well. So, and you don't get a sense that Israel's going to stop short this time, and that goes for the Gaza invasion as well. Hamas is going to be taken out. I think that's the clear message we're getting. And Iran, same thing. If they get involved here, which it seems like they're going to, we're going to bring this to some sort of other conclusion, not just half measures that end with UN resolutions and that sort of thing. This is going to be more final, more world rearranging than what we've seen in the past.
And as we've talked about before, we see Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu spent most of his life actually trying to get the attention of the world on Iran, the head of the snake, and despite all its proxies around the region, that's the number one enemy of Israel.
It really is, Chris, and it's going to take a lot of prayer over the next few weeks and months.
Yeah. John Wagi, thanks. Coming up, running into a war zone. The heroes who jumped into action to save lives, while Hamas bullets flew all around them. There are many heroes in the unfolding tragedy that began on October 7th when Hamas terrorists infiltrated Israeli communities. and massacred more than 1,400 Israelis and took just over 200 hostage. CBN News Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl met another kind of hero.
I'm in a dream right now, and it's a very bad dream. I'm not eating, I'm not sleeping, not only me. It's my entire team that I was with them for the last 10 days.
Yossi Landau volunteers for Zaka, an Israeli paramedic search and rescue organization. His team joined other first responders in arriving quickly to the besieged areas.
We arrived to Sderot. There was still gunshots. It was a war. It's a war zone. Police, soldiers screaming at you, just go down, because it's right in back of you. There's terrorists, and you see people struggling to live. They're wounded.
Volunteers spent 11 hours collecting bodies along one stretch of road that would normally take 20 minutes to drive. And they left the burned bodies temporarily in their cars and only took those who had been shot.
The people were burned while they were alive. They got a missile, they got a grenade, and they were burned.
Landau, a 33-year Zaka volunteer who survived 9/11 in New York, described the scene at one shelter.
And we saw 20 people. They were hugging themselves, trying to defend themselves. They were all burned to death. Just two grenades.
Dozens of Zaka volunteers joined in respectfully collecting remains throughout the communities.
Those bodies that we had to take apart from that shelter were just talking to us. We only tried to defend ourselves. We didn't try to harm anybody. We came over here to enjoy ourselves, to sing. And this is what happened. They were all youngsters.
Further down the road, they found a van with 6 people dead who were not Jewish.
They were Palestinians. They were shot. It was Israeli plates. They were all shot, and we put them into the bags, the same thing, like we did to the civilians, to the Jews.
Next came Kibbutz Be'eri, where they found an example of almost unspeakable cruelty.
She was a pregnant woman. Her stomach was butchered open. The baby that was connected to the cord was stabbed, and she was shot in the back.
When they finished their task, they moved to collect bodies of the Hamas terrorists, showing the same respect shown to the Israeli families. Suddenly, they found an Israeli teenager with his head chopped off.
The evil, the horror, is crying. It's crying. And I don't know why this has to happen. We going home, we can't talk to the wife, we can't talk to the children, we can't tell them anything. The smell, when I came home, I woke up my wife in the middle of the night and asking her, are you sure you put everything in the fridge? Don't you have any meat outside that for a couple of days already? And she knew what I'm going through. We have the smell. That's what we're smelling. That's what we're eating.
No one knows where this conflict is heading in the near future, but Israelis say the country will never be the same again. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Up next, an IDF soldier loses his life in the battle against Hamas. See how his incredible sacrifice prevented even more bloodshed. A quick-thinking IDF soldier makes the ultimate sacrifice in the face of Hamas terror. Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl caught up with the parents of fallen hero Rowie Weiser at their home in Efrat during their week of mourning.
My son was in the Golani Brigade. He was stationed at the Erez crossing on Saturday. It was the 7th of October, 6:30 in the morning, when the Hamas decided to come with all their forces into Israel and start fighting with us. Roy was in his base at the crossing. There were only like 20 soldiers in the base with him. He realized that there were many more Hamas combatants than soldiers in the base, and they were slowly picking them off. And my son went to the officer and he says, I have an idea. It's a little bit out there, but we need to go around. You and I, we should take 3 other soldiers. So it was the officer, my son was a sergeant, my son's radio man, and 2 other soldiers. They went out under fire around the building. They flanked the building. They went all the way around. They dropped on one of the roofs. They went up to one of the roofs and they dropped on one of the roofs. And together with the other team, they shot and were able to kill and hold off the Hamas combatants till either they shot them all, killed them all, or had them all run away, the rest of them run away. And because of that, because of his ideas, his heroic thought at that moment, and what he did, he was able to hold off the Hamas. He was able to hold down, they held down the base, okay, for 2 hours until reinforcements came to help them out. And 12 soldiers are alive to tell us the story today. And we're regretfully, in the crossfire, our son had died.
Yami and Naomi Weiser had ripped their clothes, as is the Jewish custom to symbolize their pain during the week of mourning.
This is the picture that he sent us, the last picture that he sent. Oh, and it says Shabbat Shalom from Gaza. It's a beautiful picture of a
sunset. It's beautiful.
And he was just sharing with us.
There was nothing there. Look at it, it's beautiful. You're watching the sun go down into the sea. It's a wonderful picture. Next day, that was overrun.
Our son was a hero, and we have a 24-year-old daughter, and then Rowie, who was 21.
He's our oldest son.
He's our oldest son.
We have 2 sons. Yeah. He's our oldest son.
And we have another 17-year-old son. He was just your basic kid. He liked sports. He liked soccer. He liked baseball. He liked basketball. He was just your basic 21-year-old kid. Everyone here has been so loving to us. Israel is a big country, yet a small country.
Everybody knows everybody already.
Everybody, right. We were told when, about Rowie's funeral, people apologized they couldn't come because we have 2 other funerals to go to. And everybody has a brother, a relative, a son. Yeah. We're all one big...
Very sad family.
Yeah.
When they heard the news, Rowie's friends gathered to sing a tribute of the national anthem. CBN News saw the outpouring of pictures and messages attached to the wall outside the Weisers' home.
Our son sacrificed his life. Something should come of it. This should end all wars. We should learn our lesson from this. I want to see peace. I want to know that he didn't die in vain. I want to see this evil organization that can come and murder children be demolished. I want the message across the world that anybody that supports them should stop supporting them. And we didn't start this war. Israel is now protecting itself against them, and Israel should get the support of America and all over the world to help eradicate them. Because otherwise this is going to happen again, if not to us, to another country. We were trying to think of the best way to memorialize him, and stories have been coming in from friends from the army about how Rowie helped them. Rowie took care of this for me, and Rowie helped me with that. And he would call up my Yami and ask him, can you buy me, some shoelaces? But can you buy 2 other pairs? I need for my 2 other friends whose parents can't buy them. Or he would take care of kids that he felt that these soldiers were his sons. So it's an important thing that I think we're in the process of doing, is starting a foundation for him to take care of the underprivileged, because that was what is
underprivileged soldiers. They all have to have good watches and good phones so they can call home every night.
Another way we'd like to remember our son is through his
generosity.
Generosity, I think, is the word, and thinking of others, and always with a smile. It's what they always told us. Always made us laugh, always with a smile.
Still ahead, CBN Israel and Operation Blessing join forces to help Israeli terror victims. Hundreds of thousands of Israelis are now living in limbo, forced to evacuate areas targeted by Hamas and Hezbollah. CBN Israel is joining forces with Operation Blessing to give terror survivors a safe place to rest.
Relief efforts continue today for those displaced by Hamas attacks on Israel. People in border communities were told by soldiers to evacuate. So CBN Israel has paid for hundreds of people to stay at 2 hotels and continues to support them as they live far from home.
Just now I was talking to a 10-year-old girl. She was saying, oh yeah, there were terrorists. I saw them outside our window. And today my father had to go back to Sderot because we don't have anything here. And I know it's really dangerous for him and I'm worried for him.
The clothes I'm wearing I've washed in a bath and hung on a plastic chair on a balcony. People want to go home. They don't have a home.
So CBN Israel has been buying quantities of socks, t-shirts, and other necessary items. They're stored and distributed from a warehouse at our humanitarian ministry partner, Rivers of Living Water in Carmiel. Clothing, food, socks, and other items were received with gratitude by people at the hotels and from soldiers at nearby army bases.
Thank you very much for arranging this for us. We really appreciate it. They gave us a lot.
But the need is growing, according to Irina Friedman, who heads Rivers of Living Water.
We are ready to receive refugees from the south part of Israel and also from the north, like Kiryat Shmona, Mitula. People are running, saving their lives.
All of these resources and much more, food, clothing, blankets, and emergency supplies, are now available thanks to help from CBN Israel partners.
We're so glad that we are ready to receive them, to bless them.
To help with the growing need, Operation Blessing has now joined forces with CBN Israel. Our first project together to restore and equip this food trailer that will serve free prepared meals for evacuees.
CBN's Operation Blessing is in Eilat, Israel. The situation here is dire. It's very precarious situation. The families, you can see in their eyes, the despair, they're lost, they don't know what the future is going to look like for them. But now here in this hotel, we are going to support them with meals, daily meals for them, and hygiene supplies, because many of them left home in a hurry and they didn't bring anything with them.
We're so thankful to all of you, CBN partners, that all these years and all this time you are standing nearby us. I'd like to thank all of you, and the Lord God of Israel bless you abundantly.
CBN, along with Operation Blessing in Israel on the ground, thank you very much for your support.
Well, that's all for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And you can also access CBN content through our CBN News and other CBN apps. And don't forget to sign up for our email blasts so you can continue to receive all of our exciting CBN content. And you can also follow our daily Israel at War updates on Facebook and YouTube. And don't forget to continue to pray for the situation here in Israel and the peace of Jerusalem. I'm Chris Mitchell. We'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.